Zach and I went on our belated honeymoon to Japan, which is crazy. We were in Kyoto for 4 days and Tokyo for 7 days, plus 2 days of travel. I feel extremely lucky that we were able to go. We got dropped off at the airport at 3:30 a.m., flew to Chicago, and then hopped on our approximately 13-hour flight to the Narita airport. This was me and Zach's first trip abroad, but Zach had only been on an airplane to and from Florida before. What a wild second plane ride. I've actually only been on a few more than him though, and I'd never flown without my parents, so we both experienced a lot of new things. When we arrived, there was a Welcome to Japan Mario area for pictures. Then we went to the Narita Pokemon store to get the exclusive Narita Pilot Pikachu. Then we took an hour bus to Tokyo Station, but we were too tired to explore, so we hopped straight onto the Shinkansen and headed to Kyoto, which was approximately 2 hours. The Shinkansen was awesome. Despite how fast we were going, it was so smooth and quiet. The seats were large and comfortable and had footrests. It was so nice. Then we took a taxi to our hotel where I kind of still felt like I was moving, kind of like after you get off of a boat. We took a car to a plane to a bus to a train to a taxi, which is wild. We had reasons for doing it that way, mainly because we found cheap plane tickets into Narita, but next time I would definitely not do it this way. We stayed at the cabin Kyoto because it was in a convenient location, and we're really glad we did because the staff was awesome and helped us make an emergency call back to the US a few days later. Thank you so much. Also, the room had the best shower. We miss it. We were starving and our first destination was a little bit of a walk, so we decided to grab the infamous tamago sando from the 7-Eleven around the corner, and damn, it was not overhyped. It's so fluffy and delicious, and I legitimately could have eaten them every day. Then we walked over to Nishiki Market, which is 400 meters long and hosts over 100 different food vendors, as well as things like knives and kitchenware. We were very excited to be able to try so many different things all in one spot. We ended up eating mitarashi dango, strawberry daifuku mochi, a pork omelet, and a butter potato thing. I don't really know what it was, but it was delicious. There were so many things we walked past that we said we'd get later, but we never made it back, which I regret. So fingers crossed that we make it back someday, and I will just eat every single thing we walk past. Then we sat down at a cute little cream soda place to rest and walked around some of the nearby shops. And then I had a mission. I needed to go to a shrine, a very specific shrine, Fuji no Mori. Fuji no Mori Shrine has more than one thing it's known for, but I was there because nowadays it is known as home to the gods of victory and horses. It is particularly popular with people in the horse racing industry because of this. If you know me, you know that I have a horse named Arwen, who is my heart horse. She went blind in her right eye a few years ago, which she handled like a champion. But recently she's had an issue with her left eye. We got it under control and are giving her daily medicated eye drops, but the vet says it's likely she'll have flare-ups in that eye in the future. I prayed for her eye at the shrine and hung up an Emma wishing for it to be healthy as well. I also got some horse-themed omamori, which are protective amulets for me, my mom, and our horses. These ones have adorable little horses inside of them, which just so happen to coincide with the colors of Arwen and Josie. Josie's my mom's horse. The omikuji at this shrine were stored inside of little horse figures as well. Now that my mission was complete, we explored some more of Fuji no Mori. We went into the treasure hall, which was fascinating. There's no photos or videos allowed inside, but there are a lot of military treasures, such as like katana, rifles, spears, armor, saddles, as well as a case that takes up an entire wall that's full of horse figurines from all around the world and from different time periods. There was a giant horse puppet that looked extremely old, a completely woven horse, tiny carved wooden horses, and what looked like modern briars. It was so cool. There's sacred water that we saw people filling bottles with to take home with them, and apparently there are some people who come to this shrine specifically for the water. But there are also vending machines, and even one of those. had a horse on it. Sadly, we weren't in the correct season to see the hydrangea garden or the Kakeuma Shinji, which is an acrobatic horseback riding event. We then headed to the Pokemon Center Kyoto, which has a statue of a Maiko Pikachu with an amazing Ho-Oh kimono and large statues of Ho-Oh and Lugia. I'm not sure why these pictures make me look evil. It's definitely not because I'm part of Team Rocket. Okay, time for a nerd tangent, but I'll try to keep it short. The story of Pokemon Gold and Silver is partly based on Kinkakuji and Ginkakuji in Kyoto, known in English as the Temple of the Gold Pavilion and the Temple of the Silver Pavilion. Kinkakuji burnt down in 1950 just like Bell Tower in the games before being rebuilt, and the top has a statue of a Ho-Oh, a bird from Chinese mythology that the Pokemon Ho-Oh is based on. But anyways, that's why they chose Ho-Oh and Lugia for the Kyoto Pokemon Center. We definitely did buy the exclusive Matcha Pikachu and some other things. We're gonna make a separate video about all of the stuff we bought while we were in Japan, which may have been way too much stuff. And then for dinner, we ate at a soba restaurant in the basement area and walked back to the hotel. Our first stop on day 2 was Nishiki Tenmangu Shrine, which you can find at the end of the Nishiki Market. This shrine is dedicated to Tenjin, who is now known as the god of scholarship, so it's very popular with students. It's a small shrine, but it's very beautiful. Every single detail is a work of art. We got regular omikuji before realizing that they have a robotic shishi lion that dances and fetches fortunes for you, which is super cool. We made sure to stop by the nadeushi, or rubbing cow, on our way out. Where you pet the cow is crucial as it's for curing ailments. I rubbed his back to help with my spinal problems, and Zach rubbed his head to help prevent headaches. It's really interesting to see how worn certain spots of the statue are. Then we headed out to Toei Kyoto Studio Park for the Yokai Festival! And we passed by Egg Slut on the way. Shout out to our taxi driver who went out of her way to give us advice and directions for the best way to get back after the festival. She was so kind. First, we had to get some masks because you gotta have a mask at a festival. Then we tried to get a good spot to watch the night parade of 100 demons from Japanese folklore. There was a huge variety of yokai costumes, and they were spectacular. The parade was followed by a dance, and then the yokai scattered throughout the park, and you could do meet and greets with some of them. We saw a mom telling her child to go take photos with a really terrifying yokai, and the kid just walked up and hugged it. And I made a kappa friend who definitely didn't want to drown me. The park is a film set used for movies set in the Edo period, as well as a museum of sorts for some of Toei's franchises, such as Kamen Rider and Super Sentai, which is the source material for Power Rangers. We walked around looking at the sets, one of which has a mechanical Loch Ness monster that pops up every 5 minutes. Look at this completely normal photo of Zach that isn't suspicious at all. Then we went up into the museum, and Zach loves Power Rangers, so he was having a blast looking through all of it. They also had a yokai art display that was really cool. And they also had a stamp rally, which I've always wanted to do. And I had some trouble finding the last stamp, but I did in fact complete it. Then it started pouring rain, and we were also starving, so we grabbed a snack at Family Mart. Zach loved the famichiki, and I had a curry bread that was so good. And then we walked to a delicious ramen place before taking the train back. On day 3, we went to the Nintendo Museum. It was quite a process to get tickets, but I did it, and it was having a special 40th anniversary of Super Mario exhibit. When you get into the museum, you step into a courtyard and the bricks have pixel art on them, and then you step inside and see an original Mario sketch by Shigeru Miyamoto. There are two parts to the museum. The top is the actual museum part, which doesn't allow photos, and the bottom is the interactive floor, which does allow photos. To get into the museum part, you go up an escalator that has screens on either side, and it's playing loading screen music and graphics, and you literally load into the museum, which is such a cool detail. Up in the museum, they had pretty much every main product ever released, including the non-video game items they produced back in the day, old prototypes of controllers and systems, and more. There were old TVs playing old commercials, which was fun. Then they had an art display for games like Splatoon, Zelda, Kirby, Pikmin, etc., with this special Mario Bros. Display that included many original sketches and level designs, which was so cool to see. Then we went down to the interactive floor, which had a case you could take pictures of the original Hanafuda cards all the way to modern Pokemon cards. We started off playing Super Mario Bros. World 1-1 on a giant NES controller. We were literally jumping for the flag when our time ran out, so I personally count it as a victory. Then we went into the batting cages, which did fun things when you hit certain items. An Ultra Hand challenge that we did very poorly at. You can literally see the confusion in my face in these pictures. Then a giant shooting gallery versus a bunch of other people where you could either use the old NES Zapper gun or the Super Scope. And then I did a Game & Watch game where you use your body as the controller. We also brought our 3DSs and got a ton of street passes here, including two special Miis, Takahashi-san and Miyamoto-san, and I made sure to spin the Nintendo Museum Pokestop on Pokemon Go. There was a really cute cafe across the street from the museum, so we had to pop in and get some sweets. We were in Uji, which is the matcha capital of the world, so we got matcha mochi with matcha powder on top. Then we walked to a nearby conveyor belt sushi place. It was so fun to order on an iPad and just have it zoom up to our table. And being able to order a piece or two makes it so you can try lots of different kinds of sushi. We know this is really different from a high-end sushi restaurant, but look, we're from Missouri. Compared to the sushi we've had back home, this was in a different world. It was delicious, and we ate so much, and it was still only around $30. Day 4 was our last day in Kyoto, and we did a lot of walking around and exploring. For breakfast, we had souffle pancakes and boba. Gotta get your sugar in early, right? We didn't go into it, but they had a Toys R Us. It's alive! Then we went into a round one, and they were having collaborations with Ado and Danganronpa for the 15th anniversary, and we love Ado and Danganronpa. I won this exclusive Danganronpa tote bag from a claw machine, and Zach won an Ado bag. We played some rhythm games, and I did not know it was taking our pictures. Then we got some awesome omurice and did some wandering and shopping. Then we got some taiyaki and sat along the Kamo River. It was really beautiful, and there were lots of people relaxing and having fun. And then we walked around Gion, the geisha district, at night. The architecture was really neat, and it was so peaceful and quiet. We eventually made our way to Yasaka Shrine. Going at night was really magical as the lanterns were all lit up and there were no crowds. There were certain areas that didn't allow filming or pictures, so we tried to be very careful. It was a really nice way to end our last night in Kyoto. It was calm and beautiful before the chaos of Tokyo. It was a little bittersweet as we were sad to leave Kyoto. There were still so many things we wanted to do there, but we were also so excited to go to Tokyo, which will be a separate video because we did so many things there. And if you watched this entire video, thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye!